Warning: the following video is rated BH. Any fanboy at risk of BH should exit the video and seek medical attention immediately. Viewer discretion is advised. Your feature presentation will begin in 3, 2, 1, meow. Oh, you know it's going to be bad when the BH logo comes rolling out. Hey, this is Zero at ReviewZoneHD, and paying $40 for Turbo Super Stunt Squad made me feel like I was 7 years old in school and someone just stole my lunch money, my shoes, my pants, my shirt, my underwear because I'm too young to wear boxers, and my Ninja Turtles watch that my grandmother just gave to me for my birthday. Yes, I'm now butt naked standing in front of my class crying because someone just stole my Ninja Turtles watch and the teacher is now laughing at me. That's how I feel after paying for this game. Now, before I really dig into this game, let me point out that I do have a 3.5-year-old son that enjoys playing video games with me, and I've played my fair share of kids games over the last year, and I run 2 channels focused on kids games, so I'm not some hardcore gamer looking for the next blockbuster title. I had no expectations for this game and knew absolutely nothing about it before picking it up, other than there's a pretty cool looking animated movie releasing alongside of it. And I honestly gave this game a chance. I sat down and I played it for 6 hours yesterday before I fired up the notepad for this review. Generally, I try to spend more time with the game before reviewing it, but you will have seen pretty much everything that this game has to offer in just the first couple hours of playing. There's only 6 stages in this game. That's right, 6 medium-sized stages. Unless you count the bite-sized tutorial area, then I guess you could say 6.1. But each stage will have you repeatedly returning to complete different objectives. And when I say different objectives, let me clarify that. Most of the objectives involve collecting objects that are spread around the level, and you're only allowed to play inside of each stage for 3 minutes at a time. So you may be asked to collect 5 or 10 of these objects to complete one objective. So what it boils down to is fumbling your way through every stage multiple times, trying to find where these objects may be hidden away in the hopes of knocking out a couple of the objectives at a time inside of that 3 minutes. There is a free play mode with 2 or 3 objectives to complete inside of it and no timer attached to it that also has you collecting stuff, but 90% of the objectives and the meat of this game is found inside of this 3-minute timed mode, and 3 minutes just isn't a very long time to get around these multi-tiered stages. It will take most new players 30 seconds to a minute just to make it up to the top areas of most of these stages, and one misstep will send you plummeting back down to the bottom level. And when you're running on such a short clock trying to complete objectives, that will generally result in a failed attempt or a restart. And every time that you restart or replay a level after the 3 minutes is up, you have to sit through a loading screen and then through the preview of the stage every single time. You can mash buttons to speed through the previews, but it's still a nuisance. There's other objectives outside of collecting things, such as making a specific jump or doing tricks to unlock a set score, but it's all very uninspired stuff. Surprisingly, the regular Wii version of the game does contain racing inside of it instead of this bland collect and trick mode, and the kicker is the back of the Xbox 360 game case has a caption below one of the pictures that says, "Race as your favorite Turbo character." However, oddly enough, there's no actual racing found inside of this version of the game, which this title could still have been worth playing if the actual tricks and objectives were fun to do. But that brings me to the next biggest problem with this game. The level design and the controls are flat out piss poor. The responsiveness of the controls just isn't there. Sometimes I'd press the button to grind an object and my character would just refuse to do so, or would instead grab the ledge because it's the same button. Even jumping across some objects was overly difficult because of the spacing and the way that these snails jump. And finally, trying to trick in the air felt pretty clumsy because of how slow these snails turn and move. I haven't played SSX in a year, but I can guarantee I could pop it in right now and trick it out within just a couple minutes, and I still remember how fun that game was just the first few minutes that I played it before I even knew what the controls were. I completely understand what the controls are on this game, and even after playing for several hours, you just feel overly restricted with what you can do on here. It's not that I just suck at the game because I'm new to it and there's some wicked learning curve on here. The tricking on this game just sucks, plain and simple. Next problem is these levels don't feel like they were properly laid out for this type of a game. At no point could I just breeze around the stage like I was playing a Tony Hawk or Skate title. There are objects cluttering up every nook and cranny of the environment, so you end up pinballing your way around it, or worse, creeping around because you're afraid to fall off the upper area of the stage. I'm sure a rare few with a lot of patience or a love for snails will play this game enough that they will eventually get to glide around the stages in pro fashion, and trophy hunters may play it enough to get to that point, but for everybody else, I think once you realize that there's only 6 stages and not much to do inside of them outside of fumbling your way through to collect objects over and over again with a few tricks tossed in, you're going to lose interest in playing this game. As far as the music and the graphics, they were both average. The soundtrack wasn't bad, but also didn't have me enjoying my 3 minutes inside of each level, as it's filled with very generic beat music. And the graphics were also not bad, but not that good either. There's no online, but it does feature a 2-player option, which I didn't test out. For the first time since I began this channel, I can say this one is just barely worth a rental, and even then I'm not so sure I would recommend renting it. I would feel bad even recommending this to a parent looking to buy this title for a young child that might be a fan of the movie, because if your kid is old enough to understand how to play this game, then they would be much better suited with a game like SSX, Tony Hawk, or the Skate series, which would offer loads more content and keep them busy longer than the time that they will decide to sink into these 6 medium-sized levels. And for a game based around a kids movie, you would think that it would be pretty easy to play, but I think a younger child would have an incredibly difficult time trying to enjoy this game because of its frustrating controls and poorly designed levels. This is a budget title at $40, but it feels and plays much more like a $10 arcade title, and you can tell it was definitely rushed out for the release of the movie. Had there been more content, more levels, and if the controls were tightened up some, then it very well would have been worth playing at that point. But don't pay $40 for 6 levels, people. This game is not as fun as it might look on here. If you must play it, wait for a serious price drop, which I'm pretty sure won't take that long. Anyways, this is Zero at ReviewZoneHD, and thanks for stopping by.